Welcome to another episode of Quick Question with top producing Twin Cities Realtor Dave Oswald. Now, join Dave as he answers your questions about residential real estate.
Here's a question that comes up often. My sellers will ask, what happens to the earnest money if the buyer backs out? Well, that's an excellent question because as it says right on the first page of the purchase agreement, said earnest money is part of the purchase of the property. So, why do we get earnest money? We get earnest money as an expression of the buyer's commitment in earnest to purchase the property. It's kind of the proof in the pudding that they're serious about this transaction, and that money binds this agreement. So, the buyer decides that they don't want to do this anymore. What happens to the earnest money? Well, the earnest money, if the buyer and seller agree that they want to cancel the agreement, then it's quite simple. The broker, the listing broker, releases the money from their trust account back to the buyer. A cancellation of purchase agreement has been signed and the money just goes back to the buyer. If the buyer defaults on the agreement, any part of this 9-page form, then it says, seller may cancel this purchase agreement and any payments made hereunder, including earnest money, and it shall be retained by the seller as liquidated damages. And buyer and seller will affirm this through a written cancellation agreement. Now, there's a couple of other addenda to the purchase agreement. One is an inspection contingency. In the event that a buyer decides during their inspection period that they no longer want the house, then that earnest money, by reason of the inspection, is refunded to the buyer. The other one is the finance addendum. And if the finance addendum includes a date by which the lender must provide written authorization for this loan, that all their underwriting is done, a commitment letter from the lender. If the buyer backs out because of reasons related to the financing, after the lender has already said everything's good, then the seller can keep the earnest money. Under any other circumstances, it's usually refunded to the buyer. So, that's what happens to the earnest money when the buyer backs out. I hope this explanation is helpful. I look forward to seeing you next time on Quick Question.
Have a quick question about residential real estate? Email it to us at quickquestion@daveoswaldhomes.com.